It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, the failures of multiple agencies which contributed to the death of Zara Aleena. Zara was murdered while walking home from a night out by a man who'd been released from prison just 9 days earlier. The authorities had been unable to contact him and ordered his recall to prison, with police told to arrest him 2 days before Zara's death. Also tonight, the voice notes of a man accused of plotting to kill Holly Willoughby are played in court. Prosecutors say Gavin Plum had an obsession with the TV presenter and bought a restraint kit and chloroform online. We'll go live to our crime correspondent Martin Brunt at Chelmsford Crown Court. Plus, as the gates open for Glastonbury 2024, I'll speak to Mercury Prize winner Arlo to discuss her set on Worthy Farm this weekend. And is this the most famous England fan in the world? We'll be live in Cologne to hear from Andy Milne as Gareth Southgate's team prepare for the knockout stages of the Euros. All that to come and much more on the UK Tonight. We start tonight, as we have far too many times on this programme, with the failure of those in positions of power to keep women safe from sexual predators. This afternoon, an inquest jury found failures by multiple agencies, including the police and the probation service, contributed to the death of Zara Aleena. 35-year-old Zara was murdered as she walked home from a night out in East London 2 years ago today. Her killer had been released from prison just 9 days earlier. In that time, the authorities had been unable to contact him, but it took 5 days to initiate his recall to prison and another 2 days for police to be told to arrest him. 2 days later, Zara was dead. Well, our correspondent Shaman Freeman-Powell is here in the studio with me. And Shaman, people watching will remember the details of Zara Aleena's death. They were horrific. What did the inquest hear today about how she was failed by the authorities, by the checks and procedures that were meant to keep her safe?
Well, I think it's a really key point that you've made. I think the focus previously has, rightly so, been on Jordan McSweeney, the man who raped and murdered Zara Aleena. But today, the inquest was focused on the state that should have been there to protect Zara Aleena, and looking at the failures by then. Because McSweeney was a man that had multiple convictions, 28 convictions for 69 offences. If you pointed out, he was released from prison just 9 days before he attacked Zara, and that he should have been monitored by probation, but there were failings there too. Today, the inquest found the following. They found that Zara's death was contributed to by the failure of multiple state agencies to act in accordance to policies and procedures, to share intelligence, accurately assess risk of serious harm, and act and plan in response to the risk in a sufficient, timely and coordinated way. Attempts by the Metropolitan Police to arrest the offender post-recall were impeded by a number of factors, including inaccurate data on the recall and a lack of professional curiosity and follow-ups on Saturday, the 25th of June. The jury also found that if the risk was correctly assessed as high, it would have justified an emergency recall to prison, initiating a more urgent response. And even at a medium risk, the jury found a reasonable recall opportunities were overlooked.
Those findings damning. Zara's family have been very vocal since her death in keeping her story out there, fighting for justice for her and to, you know, call those responsible, not just the man who murdered her, but the authorities to account. We've spoken to Zara's aunt on this programme before. What have they had to say after these findings today?
Yeah, well, Zara was described by her family as being a carefree spirit, but as they've pointed out, she's now become the face of the dangers that many women experience. We have a statement. They say that Zara should be alive today. Her brutal murder could and should be prevented. It is clear from the evidence that we have heard that there are significant significant issues of under-resourcing across the system. Additionally, at numerous stages in this process, there were instances where responsibilities were not carried out effectively, professionally, and within necessary timelines. Initiative was not taken, and there were glaring gaps in knowledge among some officers in prison probation, community probation, and the police about their own roles. We also learned that some operational policies are not fit for purpose. We hope that lessons will be learned, improvements will be made, and discussions will be facilitated as a result of this inquest.
OK, Shimon, thank you. Shimon Freeman-Powell following that story for us this evening. Well, we have asked the Metropolitan Police for a response to today's findings by the jury, but we have heard from the probation service. Kim Thornton-Edwards, Chief Probation Officer, had this to say. The murder of Zara Aleena was a terrible crime, and I again offer her family and friends the probation service's apologies for the failings in this case. My thoughts have been with them throughout this inquest process. We have taken significant steps to address the failings previously identified since 2022, including mandatory training to improve risk assessments and implementing new processes to ensure the swift recall of offenders, and we'll look at any further action now required. That's the statement from the Chief Probation Officer this evening. Another story tonight, the voice notes of a man accused of plotting to kill TV presenter Holly Willoughby have been played in court. Prosecutors say Gavin Plum had an obsession with Holly Willoughby and bought a restraint kit and chloroform online. Our crime correspondent has been following events at Chelmsford Crown Court for us today and joins us now. Martin, voice notes and other evidence heard today. Bring us the details.
The prosecutor, Alison Morgan, spent much of the day talking jurors through the online message exchanges that she says Gavin Plum had with a would-be accomplice. Some of it, she decided, was too graphic even to be read aloud in court, so she left jurors to read those bits for themselves. In one of those exchanges, said the prosecutor, Gavin Plum admitted that some of the things he wanted to do to the TV presenter Holly Willoughby would have landed him on death row. Now, here's more of what happened in court today. Viewers might find some of it distressing.
Hands and ankle shackles, ring and ball gag.
This is the restraint kit Gavin Plum allegedly assembled in a plot to kidnap, rape and murder Holly Willoughby. Jurors were also shown a photograph of similar gear Plum said to have sent to a man he was trying to recruit to his plan.
And it's another dramatic week in Southlands.
Plum was said to have developed an obsession with Miss Willoughby. He wanted to turn his fantasy into the real thing.
3rd to the 10th, 2023, Holly.
Plum, a security guard, denies soliciting murder and encouraging kidnap and rape. The court was told he sent these photos of Miss Willoughby to his would-be accomplice and planned to abduct her at the home she shared with her husband. The prosecutor said he also sent this voice message.
We're going to hit it at night, less traffic on the road, etc. Chloroform, both of them. That way then they can both be easily restrained.
He ordered chloroform online and shared this picture, said the prosecutor, and photos of imitation weapons. Jurors heard another voice message, allegedly from Plum.
We're then going to force her to make a video, just saying that she come with us under her own free will, that she's with us under her own free will. No, she's fully consenting into everything we do to her. So that covers us.
The prosecutor said Gavin Plum identified an abandoned stud farm where he could keep Miss Willoughby prisoner. Over many months, he discussed in detail, graphic and highly sexualised, what he planned to do to her. Jurors were shown messages the prosecution says he exchanged with another would-be recruit. He turned out to be an undercover police officer. The officer is to give evidence by video link in the morning. Miss Willoughby has waived her right to anonymity during this trial, but jurors have been told she won't be giving evidence, nor has she made a statement. The defence case is expected to start on Friday.
Martin, thank you. Martin Brunt, following events for us at Chelmsford Crown Court. Constance Martin and Mark Gordon have today been found guilty of concealing the birth of a child and perverting the course of justice. The couple pleaded not guilty to all of the charges against them, including manslaughter by gross negligence, causing or allowing the death of a child, and child cruelty. They are expected to face a retrial next year. Sky's Ashna Hiranak has this report.
This is the baby daughter Constance Martin and Mark Gordon didn't want anyone knowing about. For weeks, they moved around the country, living off-grid with their newborn, Victoria, so they wouldn't be found. Before the jury and their trial were discharged, we can now report they found the couple guilty of concealing her birth and perverting the course of justice. A nationwide manhunt lasting 54 days began in January last year. The jury was shown footage from their time on the run. The couple had wanted to evade authorities after their 4 other children were taken into care. Just days after their arrest, Victoria's body was found in a shopping bag in this shed. A tragic outcome retired social worker Andrew Rees believes could have been prevented.
Absolutely, yeah. I've had cases where families and children are missing, but generally speaking, where unborn children are concerned, the mother is booked into a hospital, so the local authority and the other agencies can act to ensure the safeguarding of that child.
The jury heard the couple had frequent dealings with social services until in January 2022, a family court decided their previous 4 children should be adopted. In his 30 years working in the industry, Andrew says this is among the most heartbreaking of cases.
This couple were clearly aware of who was looking for them, and clearly were able to evade all the agencies that were trying to support them in the first instance. So to me, that was they had the ways and means of actually evading all those professionals, and it's rather sad that the tragic ending.
Martin and Gordon had pleaded not guilty to all of the charges, including manslaughter by gross negligence, causing and allowing the death of a child, and child cruelty. Their trial started in January, but after 72 hours of deliberating, the jury were dismissed in June after failing to reach verdicts. The pair will now face a retrial, starting on the 3rd of March next year. Ashna Hiranak, Sky News.
The driver of a car that crashed into a school in Wimbledon last year, killing 2 children, will face no criminal charges after she was found to have suffered an epileptic seizure at the wheel. Nuria Sajad and Selina Lau, who were both 8 years old, died in the incident at the study prep school last July. The driver, who had never suffered a seizure before and had no previously diagnosed condition, has expressed her deepest sorrow, saying she has no recollection of what happened. Julian Assange has landed back in his native Australia as a free man after agreeing a plea deal with the United States. The deal saw Mr Assange plead guilty to 1 charge of conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defence information. Sky's Asia correspondent Cordelia Lynch was in Canberra as the WikiLeaks founder arrived, and we should warn you that this report does contain flash photography.
Julian Assange is finally free. These, his first steps back on Australian soil. After 14 years of fighting, it was a passionate return. A long embrace with his wife. A grateful hug for his father. And a tearful, defining moment for so many of his supporters.
It's teamwork. Teamwork. This is people power that got him home. He represents for us the bravery of Australians and the truth-telling. and we don't want America to think that we are a suburb of America.
I just want to know that he is with his family, he's with his children, because they stole his entire 40s.
How does it feel to be a free man, Mr. Assange?
But America did secure a guilty plea. Assange only emerging from this US court in the Pacific after admitting one charge of conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defense information. A compromise, yes, but his lawyers see it as a critical win for press freedom. His wife is almost unimaginable.
How did that moment feel, seeing him on the tarmac?
I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. And this is real.
And how is he feeling?
Very happy.
He is still a criminal in the eyes of America, but his team is already pushing for a pardon.
How hopeful and how confident are you that your husband will be pardoned? And what do you think has been at the absolute core of the shifting sands here that's enabled his release?
I think he'll be pardoned if the press unite to push back against this precedent. Because it affects all of you. It affects your future ability to inform the public.
He did unite his government. It's soft diplomacy key.
There was nothing to be gained by the further incarceration of Mr. Assange, and we wanted him brought home. Tonight, that has happened. We have got this done.
But to his critics, Julian Assange is a reckless anarchist, a man who endangered lives by leaking state secrets.
Undoubtedly, some of the information that he put on the internet has caused great harm to British military people over the years in places like Iraq and Afghanistan.
Assange inspires extreme feeling, but his lifeline is arguably about something far greater than him. Cordelia Lynch, Sky News, Canberra, Australia.
So it's come here on the UK tonight. The gates are open, tents are being pitched, and at least for now, the sun is shining. Glastonbury 2024 gets underway. I'll be speaking to Arlo Parks ahead of her set at Worthy Farm this weekend.
It's interesting because the whole situation has been evolving quite fast, particularly post-COVID. You know, the old revenge travel type of approach where people were trying to obviously recoup on time lost during lockdown has seen obviously a fast increase in the number of people traveling, not necessarily internationally, but also locally. And I mean, the whole situation that is happening in cities like Barcelona or Venice is related to a pre-existing problem. So the solutions that we are seeing being implemented today are actually, interestingly, something that we've been looking for a long time. Now, the other thing we need to be careful, though, is that when we talk about those issues, is this is not about an Airbnb ban, okay? This is about creating a regulatory framework for short-term let, which appear on platforms like Airbnb, but they appear on many other platforms, which have been obviously one of the facilitators of such huge problem. The problem is, of course, is about making people willing to travel and utilize facilities like hotel. But the problem at the base of this is the fact that there is a huge interference with the availability of property for rent for local residents. Yes. And so, of course, you know, we need to be careful in distinguishing between the two issues. Is about, of course, we want tourists to go to hotels and utilize obviously perfectly legal establishment, but at the same time, we need to be careful that situation like this and ban like this don't create other, I would say, problems.
I'm Dan Whitehead and I'm Sky News' West of England correspondent.
Now, nothing quite says summer is here like the start of Glastonbury. And unlike other years and the rest of summer so far, this year's festival is expected to be filled with sunshine rather than mud. At 8 a.m. this morning, Emily Evis officially opened the gates and the scramble for the best camping spot began at Worthy Farm, where for the next 5 days, the cows will be replaced by more than 200,000 music lovers. Well, one woman who knows what it's like to perform at the world's most famous music festival is the Mercury Prize's youngest ever winner, Arlo Parks. I spoke to Arlo a little earlier to find out how she's preparing for her trip to the farm this weekend. Arlo Parks, so good to have you on the UK tonight, just before you head off to Glastonbury, a big weekend ahead. Are you looking forward to it?
I'm so excited. Glastonbury is honestly the best festival in the world to me, and it's been such an important part of my journey, so I'm excited.
Yeah, we saw the gates open earlier on today, all the people rushing through. To go as a festival goer is quite daunting. The scale of it is huge. What's it like as an artist?
I mean, I think it's one of the rare festivals in the world where you can just feel this genuine love of music from every single person in the crowd. And it does feel like summer camp in a way as well, because I bump into artists that I haven't seen since last festival season. It's just like a really great, warm atmosphere.
Yeah, I love that, a summer camp for artists. You have played there before. It was at that time when you burst onto the scene and things were coming at you thick and fast at that time, Glastonbury being one of many things that you were doing. And it was almost going too fast for you at the time because you took a very brave and bold decision to take a step back at the height of this newfound fame to work on your mental health and to look after yourself. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because we're hearing more about it. We've heard about Lewis Capaldi, Sam Fender, and it seems that music artists are actually looking after themselves as much as their careers.
Yeah, I think, you know, as an artist, I am an extremely sensitive person, and I think I felt so lucky to have the opportunity to share my music and to do what I love as a job. And whilst it was a difficult decision to kind of take that big act of self-care, it paid off. And I feel like I'm more in love with what I do than ever. And a lot of other artists reached out to me, letting me know that it kind of gave them the courage to also take steps to looking after themselves. So yeah, it was an important and complicated time for me. But I'm glad that artists feel like they're able to do that more often nowadays.
Yeah, do you think the music industry is supportive of that? Because it was different not so long ago. I was listening to Lily Allen's podcast recently, and she was talking about when she was a young up-and-coming artist in her teens, early 20s like you are, and she had Billie Eilish, who is amongst your generation of musical artists, and they were talking and just saying how different it is for an artist like Billie Eilish, you know, still relatively young, being looked after. And Lily Allen was saying, back in the day, I had none of that. As a woman in the music industry, when it comes to your physical, mental well-being, do you feel that you're being looked after more so than artists that came before you?
I mean, it's hard for me to speak to the experiences of other artists, but I personally have been so well surrounded. It's something that I'm super, super grateful for, whether that be my friends within the music industry or my team. There is this real sense of community and this sense that, you know, the human being behind the artist is the priority and the most important thing. And it's been, to be honest, one of my great joys of being in this industry, that sense of feeling really understood and being met with so much kindness and uplifted in the times where I needed it.
Yeah, you're a human being, not a commodity, right? And you write and you sing about issues like mental health, so it's important to go through it as well as it be part of your art and for people to understand that. It's a big summer for you, of course, not just with your music career as well, but you've just taken on the role of UNICEF UK ambassador. You've just become the youngest ambassador to UNICEF UK. Can you talk to me about some of the work you've done? Because you've been out in Sierra Leone with the charity to see the work there.
Yeah, so that was my first kind of field trip with UNICEF. And I made a decision kind of 3 or 4 years ago when my platform started taking off that I wanted to, you know, use it for good and travel around the world and kind of see the work that young people are doing at a grassroots level and how they're kind of bettering their communities and enacting real change. So I spent 5 days out there speaking to various young people and being inspired by their work. And I've also done some work here in the UK, visiting rights respecting schools, doing poetry workshops, and just being involved in the UNICEF ethos, which is to take care of children and to uplift them and empower them.
Yeah, and it's about creating a safe space for them to be creative. And as you know, through your work, working through issues through the medium of poetry or music is so important at such a young stage of life.
Exactly. And I think that's what was so kind of hopeful and beautiful about that trip, was meeting other creatives from Sierra Leone and seeing how, you know, people my age from across the world kind of use art and music as a medium for connection, and, you know, something to find hope and solace in these really difficult times.
Well, Arlo, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. Big weekend, as I said, Glastonbury weekend. Have you got any top tips before you go? Because, you know, a lot of people are arriving today, but many people like yourself won't be going until tomorrow, pacing themselves. What are your top tips for surviving Glastonbury Festival?
Top tips. Okay, I would say stay hydrated. I would say go and see an artist that you've never heard of. Like, I think that Glastonbury is so great at curating these really diverse lineups, and there are lots of like small little bands, little gems to be discovered. So I would say step out of your comfort zone and just enjoy it. It's the best festival in the world.
Oh, and Arlo, just a reminder, where and what time are you on at the weekend?
So I'm going to be on Friday playing at Woodsies from 6 to 7 p.m.
Fantastic. Well, good luck, Arlo. It's been great to speak to you, Arlo Parks. Thank you. Esther's come on the UK tonight with just over a week until the UK goes to the polls. Sky News swaps campaign buses for night buses to find out how voters are feeling. Sky News has been getting a view of life in the UK that the politicians don't see. We've swapped election battle buses for night buses to find out what people are thinking with just over a week to go until the election. Our chief North of England correspondent, Greg Milan, spent a week at Bolton Interchange and found despair over the political process in the UK and a belief that the country and its people are being let down by those in charge. This is Greg's special report.
As night falls over the Bolton Interchange, a different world comes to life. The night shift workers, those out on the town, the people who see Britain from a different perspective.
I've never known this country be in such a state.
With their own opinions on the state of a nation preparing to make that big choice.
I think the empire's over. That's what I feel like. I think Britain's just crumbled.
It isn't what politicians see from election battle buses, but what ordinary people see from the buses that shape the timetable of their lives.
It's not even about the people, it's just the way that the country's run.
It is the view of Britain on the night bus.
Trying to catch this 125. That isn't it, is it? No, no. Yeah, I was just along there and I thought, oh, good, it's in. And all the way along I'm going, don't go, don't go, don't go. All the way down the steps, don't go. Bugger.
The 125 will take Sophia home. She's been working as an extra on a TV drama, 80 years old and still in full-time work.
What do you think about the state of the country?
You really want me to tell you? It's in a mess. I mean, when I came to Bolton, it was about 21 years ago, and it was a really nice place, you know, all shops and, you know, everywhere was open. Now it's all run down and boarded up. That's about it. I think that speaks for everywhere, really, doesn't it? Every time I go to the supermarket, I seem to get less for my money. Because I go regular, because I can drive, but I can't afford a car. I'd rather have a holiday. And so that's why I go on the buses and things.
You've got a good perspective, I guess, being 80 and still working, on whether you feel hopeful about things changing for the better in the country.
I don't think I'll last that long. No, I think it'll take a long time for that to happen.
Are you hopeful at all that the election will make a difference?
I won't even vote.
Really?
No, probably not. I didn't last time or the time before, if I remember rightly.
Why is that?
I don't know, I just can't be bothered, you know. And that's not good, really, because I should be, because if you don't do it, you can't blame anybody but yourself, can you? You know, but people are dead nice when you've got white hair and you look old. They stand up for you, let you go first. But the only thing is what they don't realise is it annoys me, because that means that they think I'm old, and I don't like being thought I'm old, because I don't feel it.
Most of the buses out of Bolton are run by the B network, which brought Greater Manchester's bus services back under local control.
What did you say, politics? You can't vote for any of them. Press that buzzer, I'm getting off. The thing is, let me escape here. The money's no good for this, have we done it? The country, Labour's going to get in definitely, and they're no better than the Conservatives. And they all want the pensioners to die early because we're costing them too much. Well, I'm staying alive, I'm telling you. I'm going nowhere, other than home now.
I wouldn't say we were like social workers, but we end up dealing with a lot of sort of domestic situations, things like that. It can be quite an eye-opener. You get antisocial behaviour, especially at peak times. Yeah, I've just seen them escorting somebody off now, yeah. Late shifts, totally different, you know, you get people socialising. So yeah, the job changes from hour to hour. People tend to sort of blame the politicians for every issue, and you know, sometimes that could be the case.
Of course, at this time of year, the lighter evenings make those nighttime journeys feel a little less late. It's just gone 8 at the interchange.
I came from Bury, which I get on the 524, and then I'm going to get on the 607 or the 575 to Wigan. I'm currently not working, so my life's very drastic from when it was 12 months ago. Trying to find a job is well heard. I left employment in November. I've had 10 interviews, and I'm still looking for work.
What do you think about where the country is?
I think the empire's over. That's what I feel like. I think Britain's just crumbled. I think there's not enough jobs at all. And there's more jobs, you know, down south than there is in north. I feel like the north gets forgotten about quite a lot when it comes to politics. I think it's been going in the wrong direction for quite a long time now. I don't know. I just feel like there's no trust between the people and the politicians anymore, and that's what we need. But false promises, what do you expect? You know, I was lucky not to be on minimum wage. I don't really want to say how much, but, you know, I felt like I was winning because I could afford to, you know, buy the Tropicana instead of, you know, Tesco value orange juice, or, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about that.
What's your feeling now that when that's gone? What does that feel like?
Oh, I don't know. I just feel like I'm just the third class common mutt, but I'm not. You know, I come from a good family. My mum and dad worked really hard to get me where I am. And, you know, I was the first one in my family to go to university, and I got my master's degree, and, you know, I tried my best, but now not be able to find a job with all my qualifications doesn't make sense.
There's a word that sums up how you feel about that. What is it? Frustration? Do you get angry about it?
Frustration, angry, sad, belittling in a way, judged. Why have I worked so hard to get where I was and now I can't get back into it?
I've just come from work, so this journey takes me about an hour and a half. So I have 2 connecting buses as well, which I take, so which is why it takes so long.
What do you make of where the country is at the moment?
Really, the people need to get together and work together. I mean, we can't just rely on one set of people to do things. We all need to come together to do it. I mean, if we're all going to expect only one set of people to, you know, work and pay for and the rest don't, it's not going to work. We have to come together, really.
Quite a lot of people we've talked to on the buses feel a bit despairing about how things are. There doesn't seem to be a lot of hope. What do you think about that?
I'm not going to say I'm despairing, but yes, I would say, you know, cost of living has put that a bit on. But you've got family, you've got friends, you know, you've got a supporting network, so I am hopeful. I have the trust in them that the right people will do the job properly.
For Sila, everyone who wants to know about the state of Britain should get on an evening bus.
You know what? It wouldn't be harmful for them to experience that. It may not be their cup of tea, but it is something that they can experience. You know, we can understand what they are saying and what they are doing.
I'm off to work, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm a warehouse assistant.
Okay. So doing a night
Yeah, on night shift. Immigration and stuff like that's a big part. Obviously, you see on the news locally that people are just like coming over. They're getting a lot more benefits as well.
I do almost like old enough to remember 1997, and you know, I'm not like a big New Labour fan or anything, but there was maybe some momentum or enthusiasm for the initial New Labour government. I don't think that's the case now.
I love it here. Yeah, like there are greater opportunities for individuals, like everyone, both young and old. Yeah, living here, it's quite impressive for me, and I would say I love it here.
The typical people who tend to take buses are people who tend to work late at night, or you've got party goers who are coming back from the pubs and clubs. And we have a duty of care, so our vulnerable customers, we have to make ourselves available, make them feel safe.
Are they looking for it tonight?
Is that the lady with all the bags?
Yeah, the one with the bags. She's missing again, I think, or something. They've been looking for her.
There is a rhythm to evenings here. Closing time brings another rush.
Where's the country at the minute?
Oh, I'm 58, and I was saying this to my son a few days ago, and I'm not political particularly, but I've never known this country be in such a state. I just think it's really, really tough at the moment, and the inflation, I know inflation's gone down, but there's a lot of people that are far worse off than me that are struggling for food and just the basic necessities, and we're the 5th richest country in the world. find it incredible. When I was 16, 17, 18 in Margaret Thatcher's time, 81, 82, when you had all that political unrest and social unrest, the country was still a better country. We had massive unemployment, but it was still a better country. People were looked after. And there's the old saying about you judge a country by how it treats its elderly. Our pensioners are just, it's ridiculous. How little they're paid and how little they're thought of.
Do you feel any optimism? I mean, is there anything that makes you feel optimistic about?
Well, bus fares make me feel optimistic. £2, you can't argue with that. But I think even then they're subsidised, but which is great. So look, our country's a great country. It's just the government's letting us down. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah. Buses are good though. You're happy with the buses?
I love the buses. Can't knock them.
We're coming from Blackburn and we're going back to Falmouth. We're just planning on getting our own place so he has, like, you know, his own place to grow up and make it his home. There's not really anything going. The lists are so long. We've been on it for months.
How does it make you feel though about the state of the country?
It's not good, man. It's not good. If it was up to me, I'd move country. Like, I don't want to live here for the rest of my life, is what I'm trying to say. I don't see the point in it. The country's going sideways.
When you talk to people, do you think people feel the same about the state of the country?
I'd say definitely, yeah. We've seen lots of like posts on TikTok and stuff recently where a lot of the people are, you know.
I mean, at the end of the day, you've got war veterans from this country who've gone to war for this country. They put their life on the line. They've lost friends at war, and then you've got them sitting outside of an Asda, homeless, with no help whatsoever.
Is there anything that gives you any kind of hope, optimism?
Oh, God no, God no, God no. This country needs God. It's fading miserably, very badly. And do you know what it is? I like the people here. It's not even about the people. It's just the way that the country's run.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
As those journeys come to an end, the interchange falls quiet for a few hours. They'll do it all again tomorrow, and with the election on the horizon, the people whose lives intersect here wonder what might lie ahead for them.
Let's bring you an update now from Tenerife, where the search for the missing British teenager Jay Slater continues. Jay's mother, Debbie Duncan, has been speaking out in Tenerife, speaking about the search operations that are underway. Debbie Duncan saying, I have every faith in them down on the ground and the amazing searches they are carrying out, along with more amazing guys up there. As a family, we are in a living nightmare. We have no further updates other than Jay is still missing, and we are just ignoring the social media side of things. Just pray for Jay, please. So that's Jay Slater's mother, Debbie Duncan, speaking to press on the island of Tenerife within the last hour or so. The 19-year-old from Lancashire has been missing since Monday, the 17th of June, so 10 days. The search is continuing by land and air in the national park area of Tenerife. We know that specialist sniffer dogs joined the search earlier this week, and emergency services have been using drones on a specific area in the search for Jay. Updates as and when we get them, of course, here on Sky News. Still to come on the programme tonight. If you've been watching, you'll probably recognise this man. I'm going to be speaking to the England superfan who never misses a match and whose face keeps popping up on TV. And we'll be getting the latest news from the England camp as Phil Foden flies home temporarily to deal with a family matter.
He's one of the world's richest men and a strong advocate of using technology to address climate change. I sat down with Bill Gates to talk about AI and what a Donald Trump presidency could mean for the world. That's coming up on The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Mark Stone, and I'm Sky's US correspondent.
Is this the moment to reform gun laws?
We aim to be the best and most trusted place for news. I'm playing devil's advocate. Mark Stone, Sky News in the United States.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. A new start to Sunday.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Right, welcome back. Coming up, I'm going to speak to the England fan who has become something of a celebrity at the Euros. If you've been following England closely, you'll have seen him pop up on your screen. He's gone viral. We'll speak to him live on the programme shortly. But first, David Garrido is here with the official sports part of the programme. And we are talking about England because there was an unusual development today. Phil Foden having to leave the England camp for a family matter. What do we know at this stage, if anything?
Yeah, well, listen, it was a very short statement from the FA. And I think that the word to focus on is temporarily. Temporarily left England's Euro 2024 camp and returned to the UK due to a pressing family matter. There's no information on exactly what it is or when he might return. What we do know, and it's quite well known actually, is that Phil Foden's long-term girlfriend is currently pregnant with their third child, and it's thought that he wants to return home to spend a little bit of time with them. But there's 5 days until England's last 16 match, which will be either against the Netherlands or Slovakia. It depends on the results tonight. And so there is plenty of time. I know it's not ideal. We have been here before. Raheem Sterling has previously returned from the England camp during a major tournament and then come back a day before. But there doesn't seem any real level of concern or anything untoward about this. Clearly, it's not ideal. Obviously, Gareth Southgate would love to have all of his players there all of the time, but he is a very modern manager, a very progressive manager, one who's very
first, right?
Yeah, and understanding of, you know, footballers being like any of us. They have families and those things are very, very important. So that's the latest on England. And of course, you know, we'll bring you more when we have it. But as it stands, Phil Foden has left the England camp and due to return ahead of their last 16 match, and there's no reason why he shouldn't.
Well, there was the match last night, and even though England are through to the knockout stages, there's been a bit of doom and gloom about the fact that it was a goalless draw. It was called boring, questions being asked about the team, about Gareth Southgate's tactics.
Do you know what my favourite headline was in The Guardian? It was, woe de Cologne. Because it's played in Cologne, right?
Yeah.
So, woe de Cologne. Yeah, it was underwhelming, right? It was underwhelming. Because England, yes, they finished top of the group after 3 games, but they only scored 2 goals. They've only won one of those games against opponents they should expect to beat. Denmark, Serbia, Slovenia. That said, look, the fact is that there aren't that many countries, maybe Germany and Spain apart, who are really, really performing at this World Cup. You know, France haven't played particularly well. There are other teams who haven't played particularly well. In fact, Harry Kane, the England captain, who's been very, very sort of defensive of England. You know, when they received a bit of criticism from former England internationals, he said, remember what it's like to wear the shirt. And also, you know, watch us now, judge us after the tournament. But in this case, you know, he was being a little bit more conciliatory, perhaps, in his tone. And he says, well, do you know what? We're looking on the bright side in the England camp.
In all 3 games, we've not given away pretty much any chances. I know we conceded one long shot against Denmark, but overall been really solid. And even though we was pushing for the goal yesterday, we never looked in danger. We held the transitions well. So yeah, we just missed that final little spark, and with the.
Maybe it's because of the setting, because, you know, they've obviously got their little kind of Glasgow tent going on there, you know, the Lions Den, as they call it, England's in-house content. And by the way, in terms of England's opponents in the last 16, currently it's Slovakia, but it does depend on the other games that have been in progress today.
This Sky News Sports Bulletin is brought to you by Vitality. Getting more people more active. Live life with Vitality.
Let's start with the serve and talk us through everything from grip of the racket, stance, the ball toss, the follow through, everything.
Okay, well, I think we'll start with the grip, and it's called a continental grip, like you're trying to shake someone's hand, so like this. And then at this point, I'm really trying to get myself settled, almost like a sniper getting ready to decide where he wants to shoot. And from there, I take the ball and then look where I'm going to serve. If I'm going to go tee or wide, or if I'm going to hit a bit more kick, put a bit more shape, or really try to slice it and hit it short. Step up to the line, one bounce, and then settled again. And then I'm rocking back. I'm going to throw the ball up and really try to drive up with my legs into the serve and try to produce as much power as I can. I think it's really key to be as accurate as you can with the serve, and closer to the line obviously has been huge. Really trying to make the opponent stretch and making the next ball a bit easier to put the ball away after that.
Let's talk forehand. You have quite an interesting grip, so tell us about that first of all.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't thought about my grip until right now, but if we're talking about continental, it's just a little bit further round than that. For me, I'm really trying to if I'm split stepping, I'm just taking the racket back, kind of going slow, and then finding one point to really pause and trying to accelerate through as quick as I can. If the ball is coming a bit shorter, and I'm moving up to it and playing a bit more on this front leg, and then really...
This Sky News Sports Bulletin is brought to you by Vitality.
Now, we always like to leave you with something weird or wonderful here on the UK Tonight. And if you have been following England at the Euros, then you may have seen my next guest on your TV screen. Andy Milne has been following England to tournaments for decades, but the cameras first took a shine to him during the Qatar World Cup. Well, that's continued at the Euros with the German match directors clearly big fans. He's been all over our screens and he's all over social media as a result. And now he's all over the UK Tonight. It's an Andy Milne takeover. Andy, hello, joining us live from Cologne. How are you doing?
Hi, Sarah-Jane. Good to see you. I'm stood in Cologne, just outside the fan park here, where they're showing the Turkey-Czechia game. There's a lot of Turkish fans. It's just reached half-time, so the volume's picked up a bit.
I tell you what, Andy, you know what to do, don't you? You're going to become our England correspondent if you're not careful. I'm loving this on-the-scene reporting. You've been described as a super fan. I saw one comment online that said there are only 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Andy Milne following England at a major tournament. So you're perfectly placed, being there in Germany, to give me your verdict on England's tournament so far, because people haven't been particularly kind to Gareth Southgate and his team.
I didn't quite hear the question then at the end.
You're perfectly placed to give us your verdict on England's progression so far, because people haven't been kind to Gareth Southgate and his team, and we're in the knockouts.
Yeah, I think the mood today is a little bit higher. The first half yesterday, everybody's in agreement we were lackadaisical, sluggish, and we just didn't appear to want to press. But the second half was actually an awful lot better. Kobbie Mainoo came on, and I think he really transformed the team. His slick passing, higher rate of passing, and always looking to go forward. And then Cole Palmer played very well when he came on. So maybe we've got something there going forwards.
That's what we need from you, Andy. We need a bit of optimism. We need you to be cheerful. What are the reasons to be cheerful going into the knockout stages? Because England have been called boring. Gareth Southgate himself has been questioned. And like I said, you know, we're through to the knockouts. This is where things get exciting.
Absolutely. The irony is that before we came, all the talk was on how great our midfield and our forward line was, and everybody was worried about our defence. Very worried, I think, about the defence. But with the midfield pair, Mark Gahey's fitted in really well. We've conceded 1 goal, and we've gone through. So we're looking solid. We're not looking creative, it has to be said, and that is an issue. It's something that is frustrating a lot of fans. But as I said yesterday, based on the second half performance, hopefully we can build on that and progress. And we've come top of the group, which does give us on paper a much better route through to the final. So it's something to celebrate.
Yeah, we should know by about 10 o'clock tonight who we'll be facing at the weekend. Who do we think is going to be, Andy?
Georgia are beating Portugal at the moment. Portugal, I've had a little look at that game, really seem to be going for it. They've got quite a strong team out. I think that Georgia are going to do very, very well to hold on. So I think we're probably going to be facing Holland.
OK, and Andy, how are you taking to fame? Because, as I said, you've been all over TV screens, and I know, you know, you've been having quite a few people yourself coming up to you while you've been out there. How are you taking this newfound fame?
Yeah, it's fun, but it just does get a little bit too much yesterday. I could barely walk through Cologne, but it's all in good humour.
Oh, well, listen, Andy, you enjoy the rest of the tournament. Onwards and upwards, right, into the knockout stages. Let's get cheerful. Let's get behind the England team, eh?
Yeah, really looking forward to the next round.
All right, we'll speak soon, I am sure. Andy Milne there, England super fan. He's been to 8 World Cups, the Women's World Cup. He's followed the Euros. I mean, he's England's most famous fan. Right, let's take a look at the weather, shall we? Well, the hot spell is coming to an end, I'm afraid, with cooler, more unsettled conditions spreading in from the north-west. That might be good news for some of you, actually. Inland Britain, mostly fine, dry and warm this evening, although there'll be some heavy showers in the far north, while Ireland and Northern Ireland are looking quite cloudy with a little rain in places. Patchy rain there will clear across northern and western Britain tonight, heavy in the north at times, with blustery showers following to Ireland. Well, that's all from the UK tonight. You can catch up on the highlights on our webpage. Just scan the QR code coming up on your screen. Up next, it's The World with Yalda Hakim. She has an interview with Bill Gates. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8.